This episode of the Fiction Writers Podcast is brought to you by the Novel Notebook. With each character and each setting, hundreds of details must be compiled and organized. Far too many for a writer, like you, to keep them cataloged in your brain. The Novel Notebook provides the answer. Visit www.fictionwriterspodcast.com/novel and quickly discover how to organize your materials and take your novel to the next level. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana Mcara, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast, tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. My name is Lana Mcara, and today I am so excited to welcome GiGi Meier to our podcast. GiGi retired from a 30-year career in corporate America to write romance novels from a strong female character point of view and their complicated, swoon-worthy men. And by the way, if you go over to her website, you're going to see some of that. She loves telling stories and figuring out why her characters do what they do. Her stories linger long after you close the book. When GiGi is not eating over her laptop, she likes to spend time in the pool with her children, walk her fur babies, and film videos for Instagram and YouTube. Whether working out with her trainer, attending a book club, or hosting a game night, she loves connecting with new people and making friends. Welcome, GiGi.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Lana.
I'm excited to talk to you because you have an interesting genre and you also have an interesting story about your life. So let's start with the backstory. What made you do that big shift from CAO of a billion-dollar company to a romance writer?
Yeah, that is a huge career change, like chapter 2 or turn the page. Sometimes everything was going great. I was the youngest C-suite executive for my particular firm. And you kind of get into this rhythm of corporate America, right? It's get up early, stay late, long hours, skip lunch, meeting after meeting. And I just got to thinking like, this is going to be my existence for the next 15, 20 years. Some of the other folks that I worked with, they were 75, 80 years old, still working. And I thought that could be me. And I didn't, although I had a successful career and I enjoyed working with my team. I had 19 managers that reported up to me. I love developing people. I thought, I want to do something different. I have so much in me that is undiscovered and kind of untapped talent that is not being utilized in corporate America. And so I thought, if I don't make the shift now, I never will. I will never make that leap.
Wow. That was brave. That was so brave.
Brave, ignorant, naive, all the above.
Yeah, I think there's a little ignorance and naivety in there as well. Because that's the way I was too. I didn't have a corporate job, but I went full force into what I love to do. And I know a lot of people would have looked at that like, wow, she's pretty crazy, to jump into the deep end of the pool, kind of without a life vest on. Yeah.
But you have to. I really do feel like as an author in this journey that I've been on, you have to love it every single day because it's going to be rough. It's going to be work. The newness, the excitement wears off, and then you're in the trenches. But I think that's with anything that you love, right? Passion projects fade, and then it becomes really work. And that's where you have to figure out if it's for you or not.
Yes. Yeah. So well said. Yes, it is work. And one of the things that I talk about on the podcast is that if you are an author, you are in business.
Oh, I completely agree. And I know that we want to spend all day reading and writing, but no, there is a business side. And so that's been, I think the first year was my my kryptonite, right? Like I just couldn't get my mind wrapped around it because I thought, oh my gosh, if you, write a book and you edit it really well and you put it out in the world, like everybody will come. No, nobody will come because it's a very saturated market. So you have to figure out how do you stand out. And so it's been year 2 and 3 of getting a business plan together, a marketing strategy, a marketing plan, tweaking that, testing what works, etc.
Yes, yes. I started out as a hobby writer because I was married at the time. I wasn't the main breadwinner. I didn't have to worry about that. I was making about $10,000 a year. But it suddenly occurred to me that if I am filling out tax forms and claiming business exemptions, I think I'm in business.
Officially, yes. I must let you know that.
So I want to encourage everyone to go over to your website, gigimeier.com, and take a look. Your website is amazing. It draws you in. It's got all the good elements, and you have some freebies over there. Tell us about what caused you to create freebies over there.
Thank you for the compliment on my website. It's always under construction, always in development, and I don't mean it's under construction literally, but I try to keep it as up to date as possible, try to add new, fresh things, make it as engaging as possible. But I have 2 actual different directions. So I have a freebies tab, and that's kind of deleted scenes and bonus scenes. But the first book in each one of my series, I have the Canyon series, which is my dark romance, very dark, disturbed trauma, plenty of content warnings on my website for that one. And that first book in the series, Tomlin, is free. And then I have the more steamy Insta-lust fun book series, which is the Cougars and Cubs. And that first book is Paulo, and that one's free. And the reason why I offer those first books in each series free is because I want people to have an opportunity to see if my writing style matches what they're looking for. As you know, if you're a reader and an author, styles vary greatly across. And as a romance writer, that has a huge genre umbrella. So I want people to be able to read a book of mine, see if it's a good fit, see if they like it. And especially on the Canyon series, I really encourage people to read the content and trigger warnings and do not go in blind because it deals with some really hard-hitting issues. And I don't want the trauma from that series to trigger anything in someone's real life.
Well, that's great. That's really great. It also is very good differentiator because there's so many people who love those kind of real, raw stories.
Oh, that one, you get all of it. Lots, mainly women's issues, things that affect women globally, historically. That's in that series and how I handle it. And so that one, and what I do appreciate is I've had several readers reach out and ask questions before they'll DM me on Instagram, they'll email me and they'll say, hey, can we talk a little bit more about the series to see if it's right fit? The Cougars and Cubs, let's be honest, by the namesake, you know exactly what you're going to get. But on the Canyon series, and if you look at those covers, they're very mysterious. They're blacklit. You don't see the faces really well. Isla, my 4th book in that series, is probably the most dark and trauma-filled. And so I like to have conversations, and I'll have people reach out and ask, which I appreciate. And 2 actual readers educated me about surprise pregnancy being a trigger. I had not realized that as a trigger for a lot of our folks that suffer with IV, that whole in vitro fertilization process. Sometimes it's not a success. It's very emotional and traumatic for people. And so surprise pregnancies and romance is very, very common. However, it can be triggering content.
Yes. Yes, I can understand that. If someone has been through that process and all of a sudden, boom, it's surprise, it could be a shock and bring up a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It's emotionally brutal for a lot of women, and I'd be horrified if my work became a trigger for someone. So that's why I was like, let's have a conversation, have some dialogue, so that way you know what to expect. And sometimes people want to know what the spoilers are, and I'm more than happy to communicate to that. So then that way they can see, well, how does it unfold? But I know I won't be surprised.
Right, right. How did you select romance?
Okay, I think it's because I am a hopeless romantic. I just feel like everyone needs to be loved. We need to receive love. We need to give love. And even though I've had some challenging relationships in my life, whether it be friendships or marriage, so those type of things, I feel like we all deserve it. And so I like to take, well, we're flawed human beings anyway. So I like to take very flawed characters, figure out the yin and yang. If this one is one way, the other one has to be the other way. So that way, when they come together, it's very complementary.
Yes, right, right. Their challenges somehow have to um, connect. There has to be a connection. If not, the romance doesn't really fly. Doesn't work.
Exactly. So I like to figure out what my character's strengths and weaknesses are and then match them together like a little yin and yang, so that way her weakness is his strength and vice versa. So that way they learn and grow together in a healthy construct.
Yes, something I don't talk about a whole lot, but I started out as a romance writer.
Ooh.
I was writing for a romance line, and so I totally and all of my books have some romance in it because I started out there, and I love I love the interaction between, they have this misunderstanding, and then they get upset, and I'm never going to speak to each other again, and then they come back. And
Okay, I have to tell you, I wrote 2 stories that are more along the Stephen King line before I switched into romance. And that was a struggle. And I thought, I don't know if I could do this book after book. But then when I switched over into romance, I was falling in love with my characters. And I was like, okay, now I've come home. This is where I belong.
Yes, it just clicks, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So I'm no longer, that line is long gone, shut down years ago, but I still write romance with a mystery. So yeah, it sticks with you when you're in the right place. So tell us about your publishing journey then. How did you start getting published and what was your choice? So let me preface that with this. Here at the Fiction Writers Podcast, we talk about 3 kinds of publishing. We talk about independent, which is just putting it on Amazon. We talk about hybrid publishing, where you pay a small amount at the beginning and then they publish you. And then we talk about traditional publishing, where you don't pay any money. They pay you money, and then you get your books put out. But you have to sign away all your rights with traditional. So which way did you end up? How did you end up deciding which one to do?
Self-publishing and being an indie author has always been in my heart. And I think because being a former CAO, the buck stops with you. You're in total control of everything all the time. So that could be good if your team is doing well. And if, someone takes a hit, you take the hit at the top, right? And so I knew that I could not relinquish control of my story, my covers, my series, the direction they want to go. I do write really hard-hitting women's issues. I do not shy away from things that women have to battle or overcome. And I know that's not always a popular fit. So I don't know. I mean, never say never. I doubt I would ever traditionally publish just because I like to have control. And my covers on the Dark series are not quintessential romance covers. My debut novel, the ending, you would not write a debut novel in a romance. It's a mafia romance, like a cartel romance, and you wouldn't write that ending. And so I already know that people would say, go ahead and change that ending. And I thought, nope, it's going the way it's going. So to me, it has to be complete control and autonomy for my characters to speak how they need to speak to me. And then in turn, we'll speak to the readers.
That's a great point. That is a great point, because they will come back after publish, with a publishing company for all those years. I can tell you, yes, they will come back and say, you're not doing that.
I have reached out to a couple colleagues, well, not colleagues, but co-writers. I don't have a co-writer, but they co-write together, this team, and they are traditionally published. And they were brought together by the publishing house because, they were just complementary. So anytime I have a question about traditional publish, I'll reach out to the team and these 2 writers, and they're just like, they'll tell me the real deal. And I thought, okay, thank you.
Yes, exactly. The real deal. I had someone in my writer's course recently, well, not recently, it's the last class, wasn't this one. She said, I want to get a traditional publisher because I don't want to do the marketing. I want them to do the marketing. And I had to just break it to her. They don't do it. They don't do marketing. You still have to do marketing.
Oh, geez, when we all wish that they could do marketing. I mean, marketing is one of the most challenging parts for an author anyway.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about reader engagement, because I know that is one of the things that are wanting to do. At least you're aware. And the thing I love about talking to you, Gigi, is that you know business and you know what it takes to move product and establishing rapport with your clients. And our readers really are our clients. So how do you stimulate reader engagement? I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have as writers.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the biggest challenges, because every time you take a writing course, which I spent the first year taking all these courses, and I'm like, girl, you got to finally actually do some of this stuff. Okay. Stop taking all these classes and take what you learned and put it into motion. And they're always like, well, find your target audience. Oh my gosh, it's incredibly difficult. If you're a new author, you don't even know where to start. I reached out on social media because that's all I knew. None of my friends were anywhere in this creative side of life. Most of them were in corporate America. And so they would read my stuff, but they weren't going to be your bookstagrammers or book talkers, your bloggers, etc. And so I reached out on social media and started to create that profile for myself. So then that way I can develop a team and get insights. Find out what they want from me. What do they want to read? Social media, I started to put out a post asking for ARC readers. Not that I necessarily had anything, because I had put out my debut novel. Thought of like, oh my gosh, I put it out in the world and they will come. Well, that didn't exactly happen. And so went back to some of those courses about how do you find your target audience. And I started with TikTok and Instagram, where I went out and put out a blog about I need beta readers and ARC readers to see. And it is such a wonderful community on that online with Bookstagram and Book Talk, because you will find your people, and they don't maybe stay with you through every single book, but they're on the journey with you. They'll support you. They'll tell you what they're looking to read. They'll give you a feedback, definitely for sure, as to how good or bad your plot line is, how relatable your characters are, if they even like the story or not.
Yes, and being open to that feedback is critical. It is critical. In my courses, I always know who's going to be a career writer, because the ones who are career writers take feedback. They want feedback. They ask for it and they accept it, instead of just becoming defensive, about the writing, because readers have a sense of what's working, what's not working. I mean, they are your client, right?
You are so right, because let me tell you the biggest lesson I learned. I wrote one book and I thought, oh, this is the coup de grace. This will be it, right? This will put me. And it was so not well received. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this, because we love all of our book babies. But they say, don't write to the market, write what you love. I don't necessarily agree with that entirely. Sometimes you do have to write to the market. And if you're able to, as a career author, write to what is kind of hot, it does help with reach and expansion, and to grow your readership, to grow your market share and your brand. And I had to learn that the hard way. I actually kind of cut my teeth on the dark romance series as far as marketing perspective. I had my team of editors, a developmental editor and two different line editors on that series. So I didn't skimp there, but I didn't exactly know how to do the marketing. Now on my Cougars and Cubs series, I know exactly how to do the marketing. And then I have another series that I'll be launching in 2025 that I've really nailed down my marketing strategy for it. And that one is writing specifically to the market. It's listening to my readers. They say, hey, this is what we want. I was like, okay, I will write it. I'm going to figure this out and I will write it.
Awesome.
It's a journey.
Yes, it is a journey. And my career has gone in many directions. I have 44 published titles. I've been writing for 30 years. And, here and there and historical and contemporary, and to find that sweet spot, because you want to deliver what people want, but you also don't want to get in the flash in the pan trending where it's going to fade in a couple of weeks, or next year it's going to be gone. You want to have something that's going to last at the same time.
Well, that's amazing that you have so many titles. One day, I hope to be Lana. But you are correct. And you also have to like what you write. I mean, we are in these stories. You write it, the first draft is telling yourself the story, the second, third, and all that's fixing, editing, rewriting, moving parts around. And by the other time you turn around to publish it, you really have to like your story. You have to be able to stand by it, because you have to market it and believe in it.
Yes. And in the writing process, if you don't like it, the energy just kind of goes flat. And you can't pump any life into it. Come on, people. Wake up here.
Gosh, you are so correct. I've had books that I have just struggled with. I mean, they have been a complete struggle bus. And I've reached out to my editor, my development editor, we talked through. Some books we talk through a lot. Other books, I'm like, I got it, nailed it, got it. And so there's very little that needs to be talked through. But yeah, and that's even liking your series. That's even liking your characters. Sometimes you just get stuck in the direction you think you're going to go with the story. Your characters sometimes just walk across the pages and leave you behind. And you're like, we need to be over here on chapter 20. We're doing this, and you want to do something else on chapter 20. So
yeah, they get ideas in their head.
Oh yeah, they do. And for those readers that hear that, they're just like, what are you talking about? You're the writer. But if you're an author, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yes. You can't cross them. They'll shut down. They won't talk to you anymore.
And then one day you just lose the story. And so I, try and go for a walk. I try and clear my head. Like I said, in the intro, you said, do things like swim with the kids. But I try and do those activities because I need something, just like palate cleanser, to get my story back.
Yes. Those downtimes are so important to recharge your creativity. So talk about book clubs a little bit. Are you involved in book clubs? Do you have one?
Okay, no, I don't run my own. I wish I could. I have two that I'm involved in. One is through my neighborhood. And so it's this, there's a group of, there's 10 of us ladies. Not all 10 can make every single month. But we come together once a month. Let me restate that. One book every 2 months. And so we'll meet monthly at like the halfway part, just to talk about, how some people are very voracious readers, some are very fast. We have ladies that are retired. We have those that are raising teenagers. We have those that are raising babies and wanting to get out, away from singing the ABCs all day. And so that one is all genres. And I really feel that reading outside my genre makes me a better writer, a more richer experience. And I do value what they pick because it's really challenging. Some of the books that they pick, the works are very challenging. And you can just tell that these authors are exceptional. We read Margaret Atwood. I mean, come on. I know. She is exceptional. And so you say, like, they always say the whole world is copying everybody, but you really do want to try and emulate some of these extraordinary writers. Absolutely. And then I have another book club, and it is just, I shouldn't say this, but it's just all romance, and it's spicy fun, and there may be wine involved, and we go to restaurants, and we're probably like a little bit too loud, and that one is a lot more fun and loose and a little bit more wild.
Rowdy girlfriends. Yeah.
Yeah, like a gaggle of girlfriends. And so that's, to me, my market research, because, you cannot have any feelings. Like, I will not let any of them read my works because I don't know if I have the guts and bravery to withstand what their criticism is. But it's insightful because if you join a book club as an author, you do get your own market research team. Like, it's really your own focus group if you just sit and listen to all their feedback and constructive criticism of other works.
Right. Because you're gonna hear some things that apply to you also that you like, oh, they think that.
So many times in my notes app, I'll be like, okay, they'll be talking amongst themselves, and I'm over here in my notes app. They think I'm texting, the kids or something like that. And I'm over there writing notes like, okay, check for this, check for that. Don't do this, add that. Yes.
What a great thing, though, to have people talking about that, in your presence, that you can get that information.
Oh, I know. It's such a blessing. And so it's fun, right? It gets out. Being an author can be very lonely. It's a very solitary practice. And so this allows me to get out, talk books, be the little social nerd that I want to be, but also gain like market research for what I need to be doing and what I don't need to be doing too. Trust me. I think the criticism comes faster than the praise.
Mm-hmm.
In that group, at least.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that stands to reason. People talk about what they don't like a lot more than they do what they do like for some reason.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, yeah. So what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out? There are a lot of people listening to this podcast who haven't been published yet. They have an idea. Maybe they are just having a daydream, about being a published author. What would you advise them to do?
I had several different pieces of advice that I've kind of like cobbled together from different sources. The one thing is you have to believe in your work. It'll get shot down. You're going to have bad reviews. You're going to have ARC readers that don't like it. You will have editors that change your story. You have editors that don't believe in your work. And so to all that, you can do it. I mean, now is the time. You can set up an account. You never give up on yourself. You don't have to write every single day, or you don't have to have this writing discipline from, we put the kids to bed and you write. I mean, you have to do what works best for you, but never, ever give up. If it is in your heart to publish and see a book with your name and your story, then do it. Don't let anyone in the world discourage you, because you will be told no as an indie author all the time. You have to get very thick alligator skin and be like, okay, I'm not working with the right person or the right team, or I don't have the right reader. But trust me, as varied as romance is and all the different subgenres under romance, you will find a spot for your book on that bookshelf, and you will find your target audience. It may take time, but if you just go and see, okay, I'm writing a certain kind of book. I don't know. Let's say I'm writing hockey romance, which is really hot right now. Who else when you walk into Barnes & Noble is writing hockey romance? And on that shelf, who else is writing it? Where would your book be? What does the cover need to look like on that bookshelf? Pick up those stories, read, and then you can start writing your own hockey romance. It's available to everybody. That's what I love.
The only one who can really give us a final no is ourselves.
Oh, and we do it all the time.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes, that is true.
Our biggest enemy is ourselves.
Right. Yeah, that's so true with writing, because you don't really have a boss telling you, have it by a deadline. You have to get out there. If you go with traditional, you're still getting out there. You're knocking on doors and getting told no all the time. Until you hit the right one. So, whether you go traditional, hybrid, or independent, you're going to get the no's. You're just going to have to learn to, put your big girl panties on, keep on going.
Well, I love that you said that, Lana. When I talked to that traditionally published team that I know, they're saying, a lot of things are available to traditionally published. Like if you go on Amazon, they're allowed to do videos. Indies are not allowed to put up, videos, right? There's so much ad spend. And a lot of times indies can't spend the ad spend for Amazon or Facebook or BookBug ads. We just don't have that kind of money, right? But in talking to these two, they said, you have to understand, they have a marketing budget set, let's say, I don't know, round figures, 100,000. Well, they're going to go to the tried and true authors, let's say like Dan Brown or Stephen King or Dean Koontz. They get the marketing budget first. And then whatever is left over, then you have like the new sellers, or what they call that, the new risers, new authors. I can't think of the right term that they use. And that is like your second tier of ad dollars. And then after that, there is nothing left. And so people think if I'm traditionally published with one of the big publishing houses, oh, I'm going to get their marketing and advertising dollars. Oh, contraire, mon frere. you have to build your platform and your followers and find your readers, and you have to do the same marketing activities as indies, from what I've heard and experienced from others.
You are absolutely true. That's right. I was one of the last book signings I did in my old iteration of my life. So I went through a massive divorce and everything changed at that point. But before, when I was in the old world, I went to a Barnes and Noble book signing. It was in a mall. And they set a little table up for me at the front of the store. And I don't think I talked to anyone the entire time. People would come in and make these wide circles around me.
No.
They didn't, they were, it was, I think they were afraid I was going to buttonhole them or try to sell them something. I don't know, but it was really bad. And the staff wasn't helpful to come and encourage people to come over or anything like that. And I sat there and I saw stacks of books. I was there for like 2 hours. It was really brutal. And there were stacks of books laying flat, stacked up in these stacks that were like 4 feet tall on the floor behind the register, all of these books. And it was all the same book, all the same title. They must have had 100 or more copies of that book in the store, all around the register, on the floor and everywhere. And I'm sitting there looking at that like, how is someone who's a mid-list writer going to compete with that? How can we compete? Well, the way we can do it is to do exactly what you said, get to know people, target your market, put out things they want to read, talk to them, DM them, and be responsive. Be a human being that they can get to know, So, yes, this is so important. As a writer, we are so shy because we feel like, who would want to read my stuff? It's just my little story, But that's not what gets, that's all what gets you the gold.
Well, you're so right, because we are introverted in the writing, right? It's all in our head. It's all us and, the keyboard. And then you have to flip the switch and then be super extroverted to talk to people about your book and to market it. It's a dichotomy that many people can't traverse.
Right. Both sides of that coin. You need both. Right.
So what's there for you to do that?
Oh, I just felt like I was trying to survive. I didn't really see it as brave. But I did learn not to expect too much from books. I did so many book signings back in the day, 27 titles. And I was out there doing, the work. I was selling. I was making about $10,000 a year for my writing. But that was a good second income for the family. It wasn't a sustaining first income, right?
Yeah.
So, just to get out there among people and talk to people, I just love it now. Social media wasn't at all what it is now, but back in those days, Facebook was fairly new. So, so now we've got Book Talk, we've got YouTube has got a book thing too. What is that called? BookTube? Bookstagram. There's so much there. Yeah.
Well, and let's be honest, as authors, it is the biggest compliment when a reader reaches out to you or DMs you or emails you about your book and your story and your characters. I love it. I tell people all the time, my DMs are always open, and I love it because I recently had someone and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm fangirling because GiGi responded to my DM. And I was like, girl, shoot, I'm fangirling over you. You DM me.
Goes both ways.
It really does. But I truly enjoy connecting with people. It is my social outlet. I do enjoy meeting people. I want to talk to them. I am extroverted that way, but so sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to write. I tend to dictate because I can talk faster than I can write. And so that's why I try to go to market as quickly as possible, just because sometimes I'm done with the story. I want to move on. Well, you probably understand this with all your titles. We have all these ideas. If we could just clone ourselves to write all these books, that'd be amazing.
Yes, yes, I'm so with you on that. I got a notebook full of storylines. Like, man, I wish I could do that series. And it isn't even one; it's a series. That's not even that's not even a small job. But yeah, to clone yourself would be so amazing to just be able to reel them out and send them on their way. You know, your little messengers to the world. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too for those that want to write a book or aspiring and new. Write everything down. However you want to keep your new ideas in a spreadsheet, in a notebook, on the notes app on your phone. Keep all your ideas because you may think like I'm never going to use it. I have pieces of dialogue and things that I hear and people descriptions. When I went to a restaurant with some friends and the waiter comes out and she has like piercings in her ear and like a septum and then all down her ears and she has hot pink hair. And I'm like, this is awesome. Make note of everything because inspiration as a writer comes everywhere.
Yes.
And you never know when you'll use it, but trust me, I have written things down and I'm like, this is genius. It's going in this book.
Exactly. Exactly. I think new writers and people who aren't writers, they think that we sit at the keyboard and just come up with magic right out of, instantly out of our head. We're collectors. We collect ideas.
Or experiences. Someone will tell you, I always ask people questions like, I don't want to know what you do for work. Blah. Who cares? I'll be like, tell me what your last vacation was. What did it smell like when you're at the Paris Olympics? What was the weather like? We want to know that contextual stuff because we want to infuse it in our own work. And let's be honest, some of these readers are voracious, voracious. When people say the market is saturated, I don't believe it. For those that are new and aspiring, don't listen to that nonsense because I have alpha readers on my team now. There's 4 ladies that are my ride or die, and they read my works first. They're reading 100 to 200 books a year. There is no author that can publish that many. And so it takes all of us authors coming to the table, publishing our works. There's room at the table for everybody. Trust me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's next for you?
Ooh. Okay. So I just released my fourth book in the Cougars and Cubs series called Cadus that came out August 1st. And then switching gears, I did a God and Goddesses retelling anthology with 4 other talented authors. And so that is called As Fate Would Have It. And that comes out August 31st. And so I took my Hades and Persephone, which is a very popular story, and made it into a Russian mafia / Bratva retelling. So
Wow.
I know I was kind of excited about that because, when I write dark, that's how it started with my Cougars and Cubs series. I had written my 3rd book in that dark romance series called Hamilton, very dark. And I just needed a palate cleanser. I was like, okay, I need a break from all the very traumatic issues and kind of Frankensteining my characters back together after their trauma. And so then I thought, I'm going to just write this spicy little naughty fun series. And it's just that, just that. And so I wrote that for the next 4 books. And then now my heart is going back to that dark romance. And so I'm going to write a Russian Bratva series in 2025. And then I have a biker romance series that I've already started book 1. And so that will come out in 2025. And so that's really, really fun as well. So I try to mix it up where I have like one fun project and one that's like dark and disturbing and like, just tears my soul out. Mm-hmm.
Yes, a variety. Yes. And the biker one sounds amazing.
Okay, but that has been so much fun to market because right now, biker is hot, but they have some really great looking, sassy bikers on Book Talk and Instagram. And so it really does help with the marketing because, oh my gosh, you want to talk about some one-liners, you go to the comments and you're like, whoa, like, let me hold on to my hairdo. There's some spice in this comment section.
Yeah. Yeah. Such interesting, fascinating characters come out of that group. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. And so the biker series is going to be 5 bikers, and it's they call them crotch rockets, so it's your Ducatis, your Kawasaki's, your Honda. Not that I ride those. I've had to research all that. But it's going to be bikers in Boston. So they're going to be like rich, cocky, and college kids. So like MIT, Harvard, etc. So that one's going to be fun. And then my Russian Bratva is going to be like Russian oligarchs set in the motherland, Russia.
Mm,
So totally different.
yeah. Wow. The research involved in that is so extensive. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think I have a master's degree in YouTube because I will watch videos about. So with the Bratva, when I started the Hades and Persephone retelling, I was like, I've never been to Russia. I don't plan on going there anytime in the next year or two, but I want to put out this series. And so I have sat and watched every Russian tourist video uploaded to YouTube to just find out, like, what is the weather like? And is there cold, a wet cold? Is it a crisp cold? What time does the sun rise? What time does the sun set? Because it's different over there than here. Their architecture. So I try to immerse myself in research as much as possible. And I'm sure if I get a true Russian speaker or a person from there, they'll be like, she got that all wrong. Probably.
You'll get the DMs. It'll be fine.
And I welcome that. One thing I always say to anybody is if you find a typo or grammatical something, please DM me, because I tell you what, even though it goes through, my 80,000 revisions until I'm sick of my own story, and my developmental editor, and my 2-line editors, and my 4 alpha readers, sometimes they still get through. Sometimes it misses all of us. So,
Oh yeah. Yes. My Christie Award winning book, just have to tell this story quickly, encouraging everyone. My Christie Award winning book went through 2 years of intense work. I hired 2 very professional, high level editors for that book. And I had my beta readers and all of that. And I was, like you said, so sick of it, all of it. And there was a misspelling that got through. And a reviewer from one of the larger magazines, review magazines, I can't remember the name of it right now. Maybe I don't want to remember. But the reviewer said, the story is good, but there's a misspelling in the review in that magazine. It was a library review where people in libraries would pick that, they look through to pick their books. He mentioned it in the review. So don't fret. If you have something go out, it has a problem, a missed period or a double quotation mark somewhere, don't worry. It happens. And in the publishing world, those mistakes show that it is a first edition. And they actually make the book more valuable because the second edition is going to have those weeded out. So don't get all bent out of shape over it. I went through it. It's not worth the emotional turmoil and the outright rage that a reviewer would mention something like that when everyone has it. Everyone has it happen. So yeah, that's just part of being in this world. You can't take yourself too seriously. Can't get too serious about it. You just got to let it go.
Lana, I love that advice. I never thought about it like, hey, that's a first edition. You're on the inside now. That is a good way to market it.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the first edition. It's still got all the mistakes.
But, I think that is such a lesson to learn, because you're going to put out a cover that doesn't do well. You're going to write a blurb that just doesn't fit. And so people think like one and done. Oh, heavens no. You are tweaking and testing and pivoting. You're just constantly trying to figure out what works. And what may work for you, Lana, is a total fail for me, and vice versa. You may try and emulate the author ahead of you, and their 5 things work, and it doesn't for you. It is continually trying to test and see what works for you and your brand.
Right. Exactly. Wow, this has been a terrific conversation, Gigi. I love talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. You're such a doll. And I am going to have to stalk you because 44 titles. Wow. That's impressive.
It's a lifetime of work. That's what it is.
A beautiful lifetime of a gorgeous library of work.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being with us today. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana Mcara, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.